AITA for leaving my sister's wedding early after her maid of honor humiliated me in her speech. I, 27F, was a bridesmaid at my older sister's wedding last week. The wedding was beautiful and everything seemed perfect until the reception. During the reception, the maid of honor, who has been my sister's best friend since childhood, gave her speech. It was emotional and all, but then she made a joke about how I was the family screw-up who finally managed to do something right by not messing up my bridesmaid duties. Everyone laughed, but I didn't find it funny. For context, I've had a rough few years. I struggled with my mental health and dropped out of college for a while. I've since gotten my life back on track, but it's still a sensitive topic for me. Hearing that joke in front of all our family and friends wasn't funny at all. My sister's best friend, and I never really got along, but still I never expected something like this from her. Especially the day wasn't about me at all, then why bring me up in the speech? I tried to stay composed, but I felt the tears coming, so I quietly left the reception and went outside to collect myself. My sister followed me out and asked what was wrong. When I told her, she said it was just a joke and she meant nothing bad. I tried to go back inside, but I just couldn't, and I ended up leaving the wedding early. My parents understand why I was upset, but my sister is angry with me. I do feel terrible for leaving, but I also feel like I had the right to feel hurt and humiliated. Edit. I said nothing at the moment because I didn't want to cause a scene on my sister's special day. And I can't reason with her right now because she will just ask me if I haven't been taking my meds lately, because that's what she does when she's angry with me. So I'm giving her some time to maybe realize how her best friend's joke was out of line. Edit 2. Someone asked me if my sister's best friend and I argued before, or did I give her a reason to do this? My sister's best friend and I never went past high. She told me before, a few years ago, that she in general doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally because in her head God only knows what they're capable of. Since she said this / to this day, I just try to avoid her. Relevant comments. One Redditor asked, have you given any reason for your sister or her best friend not to trust or like you? And if you haven't, aren't that person anymore, did you apologize for any of it? What she said was definitely petty for sure, but it may or may not have been deserved. And if you have hurt your sister and never apologized for it, then you really don't have any leg to stand on to ask for an apology for someone else making a snarky comment about that. However, if your sister and her friend are just cruel for cruelty's sake, then you absolutely are not the poop hole. I do really wonder what the other side of the story is here. Opie replies, actually my sister's best friend and I never went past high. She told me before that she in general doesn't feel comfortable around someone struggling mentally because in her head God only knows what they're capable of. And since she said this to this day, I just try to avoid her. Update, 7 days later. Hi. Thanks to everyone who took the time to comment on my post and gave their opinion / advice without being too harsh. I apologize if my update is messy or confusing. I'll try to cover everything, but I don't know when to add context for clarification. If you think there's any missing info or some parts are confusing, let me know. The same day I posted, my dad called to check up on me and see if my sister and I had talked things out. When I told him no, he said it's better if we talk about it now and assured me that I have nothing to apologize for. If my sister thinks she has nothing to apologize for, then the least she can do is make her best friend apologize or fully realize that the joke was out of line. By the way, my brother and I met 4 days ago and he told me that brother-in-law, my sister's husband, didn't like the way the maid of honor called me a screw-up in front of everyone, and some of those who laughed voiced later that they did so out of nervousness. On Monday, my sister called me to talk. When I made it to her place, her best friend was on the phone and didn't put it down for a second. My sister started by saying that just a few years ago I would have laughed hard and not taken the joke as an insult. I told her maybe some laughed because they don't know the reason she called me a screw-up. For context, when I was 16, something happened, and that's why I struggled mentally really badly between 16 to 18. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with PTSD and later with depression and anxiety. Since then, I don't like it when someone touches my head, especially my hair and the back of my head or neck. My sister knows everything. During our conversation, my sister did most of the talking. At some point, I felt like my sister had called me just to blame me again without trying to understand my perspective. When I tried to talk, she put her hand on the back of my neck and pulled me toward her with each sentence as if to say, do you understand? Or okay. I hated it and felt irritated. I honestly kept thinking if I pushed her away, I would be in the wrong. Would they just call me mental and tell my family I got physical? I tried to leave, but she insisted that no one was leaving until we sort this out. She told her best friend to just apologize. She refused and reminded my sister that I was the reason her husband got angry at her on their wedding day because I couldn't take a joke, and when I tried to explain why, edit, I told her if she had focused her speech on the bride or groom, then maybe he wouldn't have had a reason to be angry. She refused to listen and brushed my words off. She said, yeah, whatever. Sorry, I was glad it was finally over, and as I was about to leave, I heard her say, can't take a joke that everyone knows is true. Both of them laughed, but my sister stopped mid-laugh and apologized. I didn't say anything and left. I think I've had enough. I mean, I know I've had a few rough years. I dropped out of college for a while, fine. But I've since gotten my life back on track. My parents helped me through it all and never made me feel like a burden. At first, I was on some strong meds that made me feel tired or sleepy most of the time. After a while, I started to feel a little better with therapy and my family support. During that period, it was me, my parents, and my brother. My sister was 3 hours away for a job and used to visit sometimes and would often bring her best friend along with her. Looking back, I don't want to say she hates me, but I know she felt ashamed to have a family member struggling with mental health issues. I don't know how to explain this. I've made up my mind and decided to go no contact for now. If my parents and my brother who were there when I was going through it all never made me feel that they're ashamed of me, then why would she? I'm still on some meds but feel much better than before. I have a stable job, my own place, and friends who love me for who I am. I can say I'm a little proud of myself. I love my family to death and tried to maintain a relationship with my sister all these years, but I'm trying to improve myself and not constantly be reminded of what I was a few years ago. Update, 13 days later. Hey, this happened a few days ago, but it's been a busy week for me and I was a bit hesitant to update. I went to see my parents with my brother. My dad texted me before to let me know that my sister was coming too. I didn't want to cause any problems between her and my parents by telling them about what she and her best friend did. But when she started the conversation with lies, I told them everything and made it clear that I'm not asking them to take sides and that I will still come to family gatherings, but I won't engage with her in any way. My dad couldn't let the fact that she grabbed me by the back of my neck slide. But my mother tried to make it seem like it was out of desperation, to make me accept her apology. What my sister said next did it for my mom. She asked them how is anyone still supposed to remember what exactly triggers me after all these years, and that I already got over it since I didn't react. And what if I've been faking it all these years? I know I shouldn't have said this, and I really regret it now, but I told her I wish she would go through exactly what I went through. Maybe then she could give me a better example of how I should have handled it all. She told me to get over it and stop begging magazines to post about what happened at the wedding and left. My dad told me later that her best friend's younger sister read about it in People magazine. It was posted on their Instagram. And get over it. She's the only one who still brings up what happened. My mother now understands why I decided to go no contact. My dad and brother are 100% supportive of my decision. But I can't stop thinking about what she said. She tried to trigger a reaction out of me and now thinks I've been faking it because I didn't give her one. It's been 11 years. Years of therapy and meds. Of course I've gotten better. Not 100% though, since I felt irritated. And if it wasn't for already being labeled crazy, I would have shoved her away. I feel like I should have cut contact with her the moment she asked my parents why I didn't stay at the party and wait for my brother to come and pick me up. The reason I left the party was because some of the guys who were invited were much older than I was, and they were getting drunk and loud. 2 of them followed me. First thing my sister told my parents was, and still believe, that I left with them because I was naive and just scared/ashamed to admit it, even after both of them confessed everything. But I was young, I guess, and cutting contact with her wasn't something I could do. I also want to mention how supportive my partner has been through all of this. From the day I told him everything, he has been incredibly understanding. Even though I never asked him to, and he never told me, but I know he still goes through each movie or series before we watch it together to make sure there aren't any scenes that could make me uncomfortable. When I put something on, he finds a way to distract me for a few minutes to check it before we watch. He has never made me feel like a screw-up. He makes me feel like I still deserve to be loved. Thank you to each of you for your kind comments and reaching out in private. Edit. There's something else that happened in the last few days, but I can't mention it. Since they found out I posted on the internet from People magazine's Instagram, I assume they searched for the original post here on Reddit. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong though. I didn't mention any personal information in my original post or updates. Comments. One Redditor wrote, "It's so good to know that you have supporting parents and a fantastic partner. Hope your sister grows up one day, but that is probably unlikely." Another wrote, Hey there, OP, and anyone else that may need to know. If you go to doisthedogdie.com, it not only tells you if a dog dies in the movie, but lists any other possible triggers, including SA. Might help your BF to search through there too. One the Redditor then wrote, I'm so glad you were able to tell your family about what your sister did, and that dad and brother support you 100%. I'm sorry your mom tried to make excuses for her. I suppose she didn't want to believe her daughter could be so cruel. But I'm having a schadenfreude moment here because your sister outed herself completely. Your sister doesn't really understand PTSD and chooses to remain ignorant and unkind. You don't owe her any performative behaviors to get her to believe you. She's really gross to victim blame you for what happened. She's just angry and lashing out again that you should be over it because the post got national attention on an infotainment media outlet and her husband will most likely see it. I truly hope he does. Be well. I'm so happy that you have a supportive partner that goes the extra mile to keep you safe. Well, this is the end of this interesting story. So, what you guys think, is OP justified for her reaction? Anyways, if you guys have any thoughts or suggestions or an interesting story of your own, do share that in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the story, do like this video and subscribe to our channel. You guys can also support us by checking out the links in the video description and the channel's about section. You can watch these videos in the meantime. Hope you guys have a good day. Goodbye.